If you really want to get a sense for what life is like in Puerto Vallarta or just figure out what you can do in the city, then I highly recommend that you explore the area by taking a beach walk all the way from the cruise ship terminal into the downtown. In addition to the fabulous beaches you get to explore, you'll be able to check out vendors selling lots of wares, get a massage along the beach at multiple locations, stop at a beach club and check out what they're doing and pull up a chair and grab a drink, exit off the beach along the estuary trail and check out the wildlife, including iguanas, birds, and even crocodiles right in the heart of the city. Check out the resorts with their fabulous landscaping and sculptures. Want to be a little more active? Consider renting a personal watercraft, go fishing or horseback riding. And do what we like to do at the end of a hike, and that's stopping at one of the beach clubs or restaurants and grabbing some tacos and beer. This hike starts at the cruise ship terminal where there's public access right off the 200 highway to Oro Beach, right beside the Crown Paradise Resort. Halfway along the walk, we'll take a little detour down the estuary trail to check out the wildlife there before returning to the beach, and then heading off to the very end, which is the Barracuda restaurant, where we'd like to stop for tacos and beer at the end. Total distance for this hike is 5.5 kilometers, or approximately 3.5 miles. If you don't want to stop for lunch at El Barracuda, you can continue right to the start of the Malecon, which is only a further 1 kilometer, or about 0.6 miles. The good thing about this hike is you can get off at any time. There's lots of public access ways, and the hike basically, or the beach, follows right along the 200. So exit a public access way and you can go out and you'll find cabs, you can call an Uber, or you can take the city bus, and the city bus only costs about 10 pesos, and they generally come by approximately every 5 minutes. If you want to head right downtown, look for the buses marked either Tunnel or Centro. And if you want to head back to the cruise ship terminal, look for buses that have a label on the front glass windshield that says Walmart. If you're ever in doubt, the buses will stop and you can just ask them. So over on our right was the cruise ship terminal, and now we're going through a fenced off location, and very shortly you're going to see an opening in the fence, and they have a fairly large flea market here, so that's where one of the places you can do a little bit of shopping. And on the left hand side there is a restroom, so if you want to take a pit stop, you have the opportunity right there. And right here it says Entrada is where you would go if you want to do a little bit of shopping prior to going onto the beach, and they also have some restaurants there as well. So the very first beach that we're going to hit is called Oro Beach, and that's in Spanish, and it means gold beach in English. Now there is a gate here, but I've never ever seen it locked. I'm not sure why it's here, but here's the entrance, and it's really nice actually if you come to this particular location, because if you come in the morning when the cruise ships are coming in, this is where they enter the harbor, and you can see or get so close to them and you realize how big a boat or ship that these things actually are. Now, in my opinion, Oro Beach is one of the nicest in the area. In this particular location, the sand is nice and soft and brown, and I also find that it doesn't drop off very fast as you enter, therefore the waves are generally not that high. It just makes it really convenient to get in and out of the water. There is a resort here. It's called the Crown Paradise, and they have a bar on the outside, and you can even buy drinks there even though it's part of the resort. One of the other things I really enjoy about doing this particular beach hike or walk is that for the most part, right from Oro Beach at the cruise ship terminal right into town, the beach is actually fairly flat. If you catch it at low tide, it's actually fairly wide as well, but you can walk from one end to the other even at high tide. It just may mean at high tide you'll need to go around some of these little rocky outcrops that you see where they put areas with palapas at the end where they host dinners and sometimes have wedding ceremonies and so forth. on our right is the Crown Paradise Beach Resort. It's actually very popular, and they do have a beach bar. It's primarily for the people vacationing there, but I've been known to go up there and actually get a drink, and they didn't seem to mind that whatsoever. At this end of the beach, you're going to find a few clubs you can do that with, which makes it convenient if you want to take a break. And I will say, you can walk this beach from the city out to the cruise ship terminal, or you can walk it from the cruise ship terminal back, of course. I prefer to walk it from the cruise ship terminal back towards the city. I just find the visuals that much nicer. You can see the Sierra Madre mountains in the background, and you can also see the city, especially as you get a little bit closer with all the buildings and so forth. And when you do that, you really realize how high the Sierra Madre mountains are, because the city landscape or skyline really probably only goes up about a third at most up the side of the mountains. And once you see the Sierra Madre mountains, you realize that the whole city of Puerto Vallarta is surrounded by them, and therefore it's only really a narrow strip of land that they have to use. Now, I understand that the population officially of Puerto Vallarta is around 230,000, but unofficially I've been told is more closer to about 350,000. Now, at this end of the beach, well, this whole section all the way into Puerto Vallarta is known as the hotel zone. So there's lots of resorts, and there's lots of hotels or condominium complexes. The one on the left I just showed you was the Icon. The next one is the Peninsula, and then you have the Grand Venetian that we're going to come across. Places to stay. A lot of people rent out their condos on Airbnb, and if you have the chance, this is a great place to be. Here, it's very conveniently located, and if you want to go downtown, it only costs you 10 pesos, and it only takes about 10 minutes to do it. Now, there is a number of different stores that you can pull off on the side of the beach and do some souvenir shopping if you want. And if you're looking for actual vendors, they're all dressed in white, the ones that walk up and down the beach. And that's how you know they're official, because that's part of their credentials. They're not wearing white, they're not official, but for the most part, they are wearing white. And I will say the vendors will come over, they will talk to you, but they're not overly aggressive. So if you don't want something, you can say no, and they generally move on without a problem. So in addition to these little stores right beside the beach and the vendors walking up and down the beach, there's a few locations where you can see a public walkway, and if you go down that, you're generally going to get closer to the 200, and there's a whole bunch of stores selling souvenirs all along there as well. Beautiful beach. So the next set of condominiums on the left-hand side, these three towers, are known as the Peninsula. They've been here for at least 10 years that I've been coming here. Very nice, big pools and all that, and I believe you can rent those, again, privately through the Airbnb type of situation. And then they have what they call the PTL River, which runs right beside them. And on the other side of the PTL River is the Grand Venetian. That's what you see here. So the river runs right in between them, and there's a couple of clubs here. One on the left is called Chica Ball. It's more active at night, and it can be quite noisy. And then there's a series of dining places on the Grand Venetian side, or the south side of this little waterway or river that's running into the ocean here. So a lot of times this river will dry up, and they'll have a big berm in front of it, so it doesn't impede walking along the beach. But we're a little bit early in the season. I guess they had a little more water than normal, so we're going to have to cross it to continue on our walk. But it's not a big deal. It's just take off your shoes and walk across. What I like about this area is probably the widest section of the beach in the downtown or the hotel zone. If you go to the PTL River little section, there's always a lot of birds, water birds that is, and they're all into the stream and looking for some fish. And on a rare occasion, there may be a crocodile in the PTL River. Now, a few years ago, there used to be a lot of trees there and so forth, and they've removed those all to help with the flow of water from the mountains down to the river, so it didn't cause any flooding. So I'm seeing less wildlife in terms of crocodiles, less birds as well if you end up following the path up to PTL. That used to be a great spot for bird watchers, but unfortunately a lot of the trees have been removed, but there's still quite a few there that hopefully you can see something, but obviously not nearly as much. But this little stretch of waterway is full of waterfowl like herons and so forth, or egrets, and it's a great place to check those out. So it's close to fall high tide here, and you can see that the ocean water was trying to run up into the river here. But we're going to cross right now, and we'll continue on our way, and we're crossing right in front of the Grand Venetian, which is another series, I think, of 3 buildings. And again, it's a condo complex with lots of pools. And again, you can rent units in here through Airbnb. They're always being advertised. Warm.
I would imagine there.
So we're crossing a little PTL River right at the Venetian, the Grand Venetian, that is. We've already passed a number of places where you can get massages, and here's a nice one. It's right at this little rocky outcrop they built on, and I think they had 3 or 4 stations with some ladies working there. And it would be nice to sit back and or lay down and get a massage while you listen to the birds and the ocean waves. Perfect place to do it. But if this place is occupied, no worries, because there's one place after another along this stretch of beach here. Now, the interesting thing about this stretch of beach is after you leave the high-rise condominiums here, you'll have a whole stretch or section that is actually filled with smaller or older hotels and condominium resorts. They have a little more character to them, and I find them quite interesting. Also, there's a little bit of a curve on this section of the beach, and I just find it really interesting. I guess the visuals are just perfect with the mountains in the background as well as the city. Looks like a nice spot to get it, though. I find this section of the beach probably the biggest or busiest in the hotel zone. You have lots of activities. There's lots of resorts here, albeit smaller than the condominiums you can see in back of us here. But when you walk along this section, you'll find people renting paddle boards. You'll find people who are just off the beach, and if you wave them down, they'll take you out fishing. You'll find people that are offering horseback riding. You'll find others that will have jet skis. and then you can rent those for half an hour or an hour. I can't tell you the price. I haven't done that in a long time, but I know it's not cheap, and I also will say that I would always negotiate with the people here, especially if they're not busy. Now, they do parasailing quite often, and they have those banana boats, and they'll pull a whole group of people around, but we're a little bit early today. I think it was only around 10 o'clock, 10:30, so I did not see them out yet, but they're normally on this stretch of the beach as well. So we're not at full high tide, so you can walk right in front of this platform here, and they have a swing, but if it was high tide, the water may be up and a little bit past the rocks here, but you can go and walk around, and if you have that chance, you might as well go up top, and you can sit on the swing, and it's a great spot for pictures. But we are fortunate, it's probably mid-tide level, which allows us to walk entirely on the beach all the way to the Malecon if we so chose. Said earlier, there are a lot of places offering massages, and here's another one. This guy or girl had 3 different tables set up, and they were open for business. So at this point, we're right in front of one of the older resorts. I believe it's called Las Tulas, and we're going to quickly skirt around that, and we're going to be shortly going to an area known as the Estuary Walk. It's very short. It's only about let's say half a kilometer or about a quarter of a mile long, but it's a little sanctuary right in the heart of the city. And what's interesting about it, there's lots of trees, there's can be lots of turtles, lots of birds, and quite often there's crocodiles. And when we went there today, we actually found 2, and there could be more. And the one crocodile was actually quite large. He was partially submerged, so we can get a great look at him, but the other one was right on the bank sunning himself, and you'll see that shortly. Again, one of the things I really enjoy about walking from the north to the south on this particular beach hike is that you get to see the city come into view, and you're always constantly looking at the Sierra Madre Mountains, which I find really fascinating. Now, you can see at this section of the beach, there's lots of rocks. I don't believe that's natural. I think they were put here as a break wall to help protect the resort on the left, which I believe is Las Tulas. So we'll walk around this small little section, the rocks will disappear, and we're going to be at the mouth of the estuary, and we're going to hike up there for probably about 10-15 minutes. Like I said, it's probably a half a kilometer up to the highway and a half a kilometer back, so it's a short excursion, but it's really well worth it because it takes you away from the beach and the resorts, and it feels like it puts you back in nature. Although it's not the probably cleanest estuary, it's really water runoff into a stream, or not even a stream, it's runoff into a pond that if once it gets filled will drain into the ocean. But normally at this time of the year, it's basically landlocked. But over a course of time, a number of crocodiles and other animals such as turtles and birds have made it their home. So if you have a chance, it's actually such a small little detour on your beach walk. It's really worth going and checking it out. And that's what we're going to do now. Normally when the crocodiles are out, I find them sunning themselves right at the mouth of the estuary. Obviously, we're a little bit early, so there is no sun at that section, so maybe they're not here because of that reason, but we're going to walk the path and see if we can find them. And at the same time, we'll look for turtles and look at the trees for the iguanas as well as the birds. And generally, you'll always find something of interest here in terms of wildlife. But be careful because the crocodiles can be sitting right here, right on the bank. They're like really, really big. See if I can get them. He's a big one. Yeah, there's a little iguana on the branch over there.
Oh yeah, you got a good eye.
Yeah. He is. Spot him. There he is.
Same type of tree too.
Oh yeah, then you got the blue heron up there.
Yeah, right here.
Or it's a green heron.
That's a curve I got from Hank. He asked me if...
Oh, there's a whole bunch of them in the dead tree there too. That's cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, look at the yellow.
Yeah.
That's purified birdman. Nope.
Oh, there he is. The cocodrilo.
Okay.
A small one. See the crocodile?
Yeah, a photo.
Right across. Right there.
Oh, there it is. The big one is over there.
Ah. He's not too big. At about 5 feet. Maybe
I think
6.
bigger than that.
6 feet at the most, I think.
Yeah, 6 anyway.
Yeah. You'd be a full meal for that one. For the big one, you only be a snack. Well, they said the bigger one's up here somewhere.
But his nose is just stuck over the pond.
Big one. They said he's sticking his nose up. Somewhere. There he is in the water. Yeah. He's way over there.
See him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can see him.
Oh, he's a good sized one. Oh, we could see the crocodile, or crocodilos, or cocodrilos, I should say, on the other side of the bank. So we crossed over the bridge and came across this white heron. So we're going to check him out, and then we'll see if we can get a good look at this rather large-sized croc. It's hard to tell what size he is, but he's got to be at least 8 feet long. But we'll never know because we never got to see his whole body length. Hello, Mr. Heron. Crocodile here. He's big. Oh, he just emerged. He's coming for us. Well, this crocodile kept on submerging and popping his head up. I'm not exactly sure what he was doing, but I guess we were bothering him rather than the other way around. So we watched him for a few minutes, and then saw after he went down again, we took a look at the big white heron here because he was interesting. He was walking on his big feet through the marsh here. It's so incredible how well they support themselves across the reeds here while they fish. So very pleasant to be here. And then after a few minutes, we headed on back down to the beach. Continue our walk back into Centro, or to the start of the Malecon, where we were going to get some dinner at El Barracuda.
Yeah, I got a floaters for the horses. You want to go fishing with rods, or the one-piece Mustang, and then he gave me a sculpture of one of his carvings of a green heron.
So here we are back at the mouth of the estuary, and we're going to continue our beach walk. Again, this is a very busy section of the beach. You're going to have a lot of condominiums, but more so resorts, and they're older and smaller, but they have their tables and chairs and palapas all set up. Lots of vendors around as well if you want to stop and shop. It's just a great place to hang out and take this walk, though. The tide was coming in, so like I said, it wasn't high tide, but the amount of beach was a little bit short. Or narrow, I should say, but plenty of room to walk it. And like I said, I've been here at full tide, and I've been able to walk from one end of the beach to the other, from the cruise ship terminal all the way down to the Malecon. Now, one of the things I really like about this next resort is that they've actually have a number of different sculptures right next to the bar here, and they're really good, nice to look at as you walk on by. Got a whole bunch of carvings. That's nice too. After this next resort, you start to get into some that are a little bit newer, like Secrets and so forth, and they're a little bit higher, obviously, in terms of elevation, many more floors. And the last major resort you see in the distance is called Harbor 171. It's actually 2 towers, and that's one of the biggest resorts that are actually on the beach section here in the hotel zone. And when I call it resort, I don't know if it's a resort or a condominium complex, but I know there's a lot that you can rent through Airbnb. They've got a tremendous amount of pools, and it's one of the newest complexes in the area. If you were thinking about renting, you might want to check it out. And that's the one that you can see in the distance here. Now, the beach in this location is actually not too bad, but I think it's a little bit better earlier, and I especially like Oro Beach, which is right close to the cruise ship terminal, but it's not bad here, and there's lots of vendors. This is where you're going to find most of your activities, such as using these wave runners or sea-doos, whatever you want to call them, personal watercraft. You can always rent them out here. You can see a few fishing boats off the bay here, and there'll probably be a vendor on the beach, and they'll call them in and they'll take you out fishing if you want to do that. And I think shortly here we're going to come across people riding horses as well. There always seem to be in this particular area. And again, lots of places where you can get a massage as well. I will say that there is multiple access points to get onto the beach, because in Mexico, and I believe at least in Puerto Vallarta, they have to provide access to the beach because they are public. And if you go up any one of these access points, they're generally associated with shopping malls where you can buy souvenirs, and you're not very far from the 200 highway as well, which is sort of the main road running down to the centro, or the main portion of the town that people like to check out. So if you do get tired and you want to cut your hike short, just take one of the exits. You'll definitely be able to find a taxi or a bus that'll take you back to the cruise ship terminal, or even take you right downtown. Hola, amigos.
Hola.
And speaking of access points, right to our left here is exactly one of those. So nothing fancy, but it gets you right down to the beach, and you can walk the entire length from there. Or head on back to the highway and grab a bus or a taxi or Uber to take you wherever you'd like to go. Puerto del Sol. We are approaching what I call almost the city center out of the hotel zone, and still we're coming across many places here with massages. And the last major high-rise here before we get into the downtown is called Harbor 171. It's fairly new, very posh, lots of swimming pools. I hear a lot of people really enjoy it there. Probably not my favorite section of the beach, but definitely very serviceable. And then right after this here, we're going to get to the Sheraton, which is actually one of my favorite resorts in terms of its pools, its restaurants, and so forth. Unfortunately, that little section of the beach is probably the one that's the most rocky and the less nicest place, actually, or not the nicest place to swim, but the resort itself is fantastic. But what else is also normal about it, or fantastic about it, I should say, is that it is very close to the downtown. But the next major resort is the Sheraton, which has been here for a long time, and a lot of people really, really enjoy it. Mainly because of its facilities. They also have a convention center, lots of really good restaurants. But this section of the beach, a little bit to the north of it, is actually quite good. But if you head on south, it's all a bunch of rock, almost like landscape rocks. I think maybe they were dumped there to help protect the walls and stop the resort from being flooded or damaged in high tides or high waves. And I'll show you that in a minute. But it's only a short distance walking over those rocks that'll take you to some of the other beaches that are very close to the Malecon, and that's where we're going, and that's where we're going to stop at El Barracuda for lunch. So on our left here is the Sheraton, and we're going to walk through it right now. And that's the wedding platform they set up there. So as we get past the Sheraton, we actually come to a quite open section that has never been developed. I think it's owned by the city, and so there's some vacant land there. And they do set up for different events, such sporting events and concerts at that particular location. And it's right across from their sporting facility where they have a running track, a skateboard park, basketball courts, volleyball courts, and so forth. Anyways, a great facility, and I think the city is holding on to it so they can hold events in that particular location. Anyways, it's probably a half a kilometer, 3/4 of a kilometer at most, which is about half a mile at the very most, where when you're out of the rocks and you're back onto a sandy beach. At this point, you're coming across a number of smaller resorts again, and you can stop in there and get day passes. So I have swimming pools, and the day pass will also include your access to those pools plus breakfast and lunch. And I think most of the day passes will run from early in the morning and then till about 4 o'clock, and they're on the order of about 100 Canadian dollars, maybe 100 US dollars now. I haven't checked the price this year, but a great place to hang out for the day if you want to do that. But what we want to do now is actually head on over to El Barracuda, and that's where we're going to have lunch. So here it is, right off the beach. Today we hiked from the cruise ship terminal back into town along the beach. Before heading home, we stopped in at El Barracuda for lunch. Located right on the beach at the corner of Paraguay and Nicaragua. I've always really liked this restaurant, but I normally would come here for dinner and catch the sunsets. But today, since we were here around noontime, it was the perfect spot to grab a beer, some tacos, and burgers when we finished off our hike. The restaurant has lots of tables on the sand, but I like to go on the interior and sit along the rail. If you come here at night, that rail side seating is very difficult to get, so you need to come early because this restaurant is very popular with the locals, expats, and tourists alike. can enter the restaurant from the beachside stairs, or you can come down along Nicaragua Street and enter on Paraguay. So the wait staff is extremely friendly, and our waiter here wanted to know what the weather was like in Canada. And from his reactions, I don't think he was overly impressed. Okay, what's the weather like?
Minus 25.
Check this out. Welcome to Paradise.
Welcome to paradise, my friend, yes. Here's good hike to El Barracuda. Hotel zone hike completed. Woohoo! El Barracuda offers a lot of seafood, Mexican food, but they also have a lot of steaks and burgers as well for those of you who do not like seafood. After getting a few beers to quench our thirst, we ended up ordering our lunches. That's tacos and burgers for us, and it arrived very quickly. Go. See. Wow, that looks good. I think that's yours.
Yeah, I got the works on it. Oh, with the bacon.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Do you have chipotle?
No.
Well, that looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, now some more beer.
Ready? Yeah.
Hey, we're ready.
Yeah.
Gracias, amigo.
Oh, that looks good.
Wow. Now that is shrimp Baja tacos, 3 of them.
You got pork fries later. What do you got? Double one?
Look at that. Look at the burger you got. That is some really nice bacon on there, too. It was a beautiful day for a hike, and what I was really pleased to find out is that the restaurant, at least these tables on the side, were a little bit open. We got here just in time before they filled up. So we got the perfect seating to people watch along the beach and catch a breeze and just enjoy listening to the waves and having a great meal. And I'll say our tacos and burgers were just perfect. As I said earlier, I normally come here for dinner and catch the sunset, but I think I'm going to start checking out this place for lunch a little more often. Everything was so good.
Bueno.
Bueno. Linda, now that you got a mouthful, burgers and tacos on the beach, hard to beat. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe for more content on Puerto Vallarta and beyond.